I also did the game test sheet, which allowed us, so when we came to testing the game, everyone could just fill it in and know what they're doing for the game. And then I also did quite a few 3D models included. That's an early version of the one of the Cusuco tables that I did. I also did several sort of clutter assets, including fencing, several different versions of chairs. I also did a washing line, which I forgot to put on there. And also did the picnic bench. Again, there's my two versions of two bits I did for the GDD. And then this is like two versions of the table. I did this one originally. I had the textures ended up looking very crap when they were in Substance, so I ended up redoing them with a better wood texture, and it came out a lot nicer. And then finally, I got involved with the last bit. I got involved with some of the bits of the Kickstarter and helped with the Kickstarter script.
I'll just gloss over this bit. I did mood boards, and then I did a little bit of a section on the GDD documents. On this bit of the GDD document, I looked at existing games that have like similar themes to what we were doing for our game. So I looked at Animal Planet and New Pokemon Snap that had like a way of cataloging like different types of animal species in like the wild and such. Next slide. But for the real meat and potatoes of what I did was the 3D modelling for this project. I started off like modelling this wooden bench here. This made of logs. I used mud blocks for this. Started it off in like 3ds Max, and then I used mud blocks to create the rivets to make it more wooden, make it look more like a proper log, and then I textured it properly in there. And then I made a water storage cooler, so it's where you keep all the water, it's all fresh and such. And then I did some plates and some bowls, because people need to eat in something. Next slide. But what I did for most of this project was modelling and texturing the snakes. Using the base models that Rebecca had made, I tweaked some of the models to make them look more like the original, make them look like the real snakes. These were the original that I did. When we showed them to Steve in our previous presentation, he was happy with what we showed them, but from the feedback he given us, he suggested to make pit vipers have really rounder heads. So I took that feedback in to improve this pit viper to have a much more rounder head at the back. I also improved the texture on this one because I did like that one, it doesn't look good. And so this is the new pit viper for the Wilson I one. I'm not going to pronounce the Latin ones because it's not for me to be able to read that. Next slide. And these are the other snakes. There's about 10 of them. There's about 3 more in the next slide. So, green racer, cloud forest earth snake, blunt head tree snake, parrot snake, striped lizard. I can't read that last bit. Next slide. Variable coral snake, Central American jumping pit viper, and the Danger and Hard scorpion eating snake. That one was the last one I made. And then for the last bit I did, I wrote a bit for wrote the script for the Kickstarter video. I also did the audio for that one, recorded it, so it made sure it was as energetic as possible to make people feel convinced to want to donate to the Kickstarter. So that's my contribution to the project.
I'm Rebecca. So the first thing I did was some coding, and I did the kickoff system and the arch, and there's just a bit of the coding on there. I then did a few concepts of various creatures, mainly frogs and salamanders. I made a title screen, a logo, and frogs I've done. I don't think all of them are on there, but I think most of them are. There's even a toad in there as well, which is the king toad. These are the salamanders I've done. There's 9 different ones, and there's a couple of varying ones. And then I've done 7 of the lizards. One of them, you can't see it, it's at the bottom, it's like a frilled lizard. I don't think it's as good as it could have been, but I gave it a shot. And then I've also done a couple of 3D models, mainly the foot and the visitor, and also the entrance sign, which is at the entrance of the park.
So my name's Jim. First I was on level design. So we had an old version of the project that other students made, and we basically imported it to Unreal 5. It didn't import very well, so I had to fix it up a bit, and the map was way too big, so I had to scale it down, and I edited it a bit. Sadly, that map was broken, so we had to redo it. But what we did get out of it is like a nice little Photoshop map here, sort of to help as like a guideline what we can do for our level. Yeah, next slide. You might need to refresh it. You might want to refresh it, Adam. Right, there we go. So then I went on to UI. So I did the main menu here. So yeah, so we got like play options, controls, quit. So I coded all of that. So all the options work with resolutions, textures, and shadows. They all work. I've got little controls things to help people if they don't know the controls in that lot, so they'll read that before playing it. Then we've got the play menu where it will start the game and quit, just quits the game. I've also made the player UI, which is over here. So sort of just in case you don't remember, we've got tab to open inventory. Up in the top right is like how many frog, snakes, or lizards you have in total collected. So if you pick up like a snake, a frog, and that lot, it will just add it together. So it's 2 frogs, so well, a frog and a snake, you know. And then I've got score up in the top, so it will tell you sort of how rare it is and that one, and how much, it's sort of like a gameplay element there. Next slide. Then I went on to making some 3D assets. So I made 2 backpacks, I made a really good looking camera, and I made just some quick bin bags sort of thing that took me like a day to do, so that wasn't too bad. But bags took me the longest. I would say maybe a month, or probably both of them together. And then like, yeah, and it probably took me about, I want to say a week or two for the camera. So that one went a lot quicker because I found it a more simplistic object. Next one. Then I went on to coding. So there was some problems which I had fixed, but yeah, so one, the ID would only assign 1 value to each, or to all of the animals, so I had to separate that, so each animal had their own ID. So I basically added 2 more contents to the data table, which was score and row number. Score so that when you pick it up, then I can assign the amount of points to that certain frog, snake, or lizard, and that way it can add to the score the correct amount. And then row number to identify what the row is, so that it can identify what frog, snake, or lizard you're picking up. So I had to do that. Over here is sort of the score system working, so you can kind of guess what it does. So it's sort of like, as it's got the score here, it links it up and just adds it to the total score. and that will basically display how much. And this is what identifies it. So over here we've got get like row name, so then I can select which frog snake it is, and then it will go down and pretty much just set it. And what I haven't shown you is on this coding line here, it basically will just find what row name or whatever it is, and then just apply it. Anyway, down here I basically added all of the frogs, lizards, salamanders, and snakes into the game, so all the meshes and textures are on the same model, and they each have been assigned a name. So that way, the person that's adding them in basically just has to drag and drop them, and that's pretty much it. Next slide. And last of all, I added some snakes, frogs, and lizards into the game. So I think it was me and Sarah. We added pretty much all the frogs and that lot into the game. So I just got some screenshots of where I placed some of mine. So I put that one on the bench or a chair because I think that's kind of cool. I added one on like the pole here to one of the tents. It's really dark, but there's one like a lizard here. There's a frog here, but this has been covered up, so I can't really show you that one. And then in here we've got, was it corn snake, I think, isn't it? That
Coral snake.
Coral snake, so you can kind of see like that it's red. So I really like this one because you'll like kind of barely see it because it's in grass, but you can see like little fades of red, so players should be able to find it. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
I'm Ben, I'm part of the 3D modelling team. So what we've got here is the mood board I was assigned at the beginning of the project to make a mood board on the camp. So instead of like trying to get photos of like different campsites and all of that, I just went with like the images that were provided to us by the client, since we wanted to get our game as like accurate to the location as possible. These are the three sections of the GDD document I've done. The first one I did was the objective section, which kind of goes over both the objectives of our game for like real life effects, like spreading word about deforestation, information about the animals in the game, and stuff like that. And then like the in-game objectives, which would just be like, you know, how does the player gain points, what are kind of the mechanics we've got going on, things like that. The second section I've got is just like the tutorial, kind of what we've done for that, how to kind of ease the player into the game, explain to them how it works. And then the final one is just the music side of the game, which was a quick section to do since we decided not to add music since it would ruin like the atmosphere of the game. Kind of the purpose, since the player needs to be able to hear the creatures to actually be able to do well. These are some of the earlier models I made for the project. This was before we learned how to use Substance Painter, so these were all like textured in 3ds Max using like JPEG images and all that. That's the same. These are the models that I have implemented in the game and have made using Substance. As you can see, it's a lot better as we've managed to get kind of a lot more detail on them, like wear and tear, kind of cuts in the knife, things like that. These are just a few more like adding rust detail onto buckets, since you know they would have been left there for quite a long time. So the picnic bench, you can't really move those around. For the toilet sign, it's not as accurate as like the toilet signs you would see there in the park, because unfortunately you can't just find an image of those online, because they seem to have been custom made for the park itself. And then it's just the crate and the machete that I've kind of been working on. I've also been creating the Kickstarter video for the project, which I managed to get done in a week, so all in all I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I had stuff to work with, so can't complain too much.
I think that's it.
Okay, do you want to play the Kickstarter then?
Yep. So I'm guessing it's located
It's in
It's actually on, I put it on the C drive, it might actually play back on the C drive.
on your C
Yeah, I'll
drive.
find it for you.
See if you can find it.
Oh, sorry.
No sound.
Oh, that's it.
Explores the tropical rainforest of Honduras to observe and collect herpetology species situated there. This game is made in partnership with Operation Wallacea. Operation Wallacea is a massive operation of tropical scientific expeditions across 15 different countries with 200 plus academies running over 120 projects. Results from each of the projects are published in peer-reviewed journals. With thanks to Operation Wallacea, 30 new vertebrate species have been discovered. Anything found through Operation Wallacea has the opportunity for worldwide comparative studies. Out of the 15 countries that Operation Wallacea is active in, we have been chosen to base our game in the Cusuco National Park in the northwestern corner of Honduras in the Maradon Mountains. Cusuco National Park, which is a 1-hour drive from the center of San Pedro Sula, which is the nearest city to the national park. Our artifact is an educational game set in the Cusuco National Park in Honduras. The game aims to educate people about the variety of frogs, salamanders, lizards and snakes that make their home in the park. The main aim of the game is to traverse and explore the base camp, walking along trails that surround the camp, collecting various species of herpetology. Once the player collects one of the species, a top trump style card will appear in the player's inventory. The top trump card will contain scientific, informative and digestible fact files on the animal, including species name, where they are distributed in the park, the vulnerability status, the environment vulnerability score, the size of the species, and the morphology of the species. The player will also be scored for the number of animal species collected in line with the rarity of the species found. Rarer species of animals yield more points once collected, but are made harder to spot. The player must be observant of their surroundings if they want to be able to find all the hidden animals in the park. Some species will only appear during certain times of the day, so for the player to be able to encounter them, the player will be able to choose what time of day before starting the game, and the encounter rates will change accordingly.
Hello, I'm currently working on the foliage in the Cusuco game, basically to make it look realistic as possible, including trees and rocks to make it feel like you're really walking through.
So I'm basically working with some pictures for the game. This is what I'm working on this game.
Oh, I don't feel bad, Rebecca.
I've been working on some models for the game and trying to get the textures as true to reference as possible. This gives the game a really realistic feel and throws the player into the environment as if they were really there.
Hi, I'm Ben Jones, and I'm part of the 3D modelling team. Right now, I'm currently working on the binoculars model, trying to make it look nice and snazzy as possible. This is kind of what I've been doing the majority of the project, making nice
Catching the
little
eyeball in the camp.
decorations, maybe some uses, but hopefully can't complain.
Hello, my name is Ben Langford, and I am currently working on a scorpion eating snake. It is almost done. I am currently just been wrapping up the texturing so that it can be imported into Unreal Engine 5. Currently, I have been using these references that I found on a website called iNaturalist to make sure that the models look realistic as possible to get the authentic looking snake.
Why are we crowdfunding for this game? We believe that video games are an excellent tool for bringing entertainment, engagement, and education. We believe that our game can be used as a tool to immerse players in the exotic rainforest and feel encouraged to explore, find rare species of animals, and learn more about them. It will hopefully be used as a resource for students to gain an understanding of the area and the skills and abilities required to find such important species. With your funding, we can use it to create an excellent educational training tool that can be used for years to come for anyone to learn more about the good works of Operation Wallacea, the Cusuco National Park, and any of the animal species that live in the national park. Players can use this game as an educational tool to understand what animal species live in the national park. Students of Operation Wallacea, once arriving at the park, can become familiar with the location and feel attracted to learn more about Cusuco itself and the many rare species that call it home.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you were really good. Yeah.
Why am I in it and the people that are missed out?
Yeah, no, I just noticed that I missed. For example, I think I've definitely missed out.
I'm not in it.
Ellie's
I want to kind of keep it down, kind of time-wise. It was getting a bit long.
Yeah, I think what you can do, get everybody in it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can do that.
Get everyone in there.
Well, other than that, I have to say, though, that's a massive step up from last term. It really is.
Yeah.
I think everyone has really done well, seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, all right? If you could just hopefully by doing that, you get to see how you've all improved.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really have. Okay, you look at the modelling, it's way better.
Yeah.
Okay, all right? So I hope you're all that bugging the hell out of you. Hopefully you can see how it's worked. Okay, all right? So it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right? Very cool. Yeah. Make sure, guys, you do the paperwork stuff properly, because some of you are going to get very high marks for this. Okay, but you're only going to get it if the paperwork's up to scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, all right? So do that, and I promise you some of you are going to get some really good grades for this one.
I'm not very good with paperwork. Can you check my notes?
Yeah, well, don't worry. Okay, all right. Well done, that, guys. That was excellent. Really good.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay.